Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Tess Crawley here, clinical psychologist, forensic psychologist, mentor to mental health clinicians. This morning I have had my forensic psychology hat on, and bear with the wobbles here while I'm sharing, while I'm talking. I'm not going to delay the broadcast while I share. I'm learning to do two things at the same time. I wanted to have a quick chat with you about valuing your time as a clinician. I think that over the last few months I've been observing a lot of commentary within all of the mental health professional groups around bulk billing and of course the issues around the two-tier system for under Medicare for mental health professionals eligible for Medicare rebates. I'm not going to talk about that. It's an issue that creates a lot of emotion, and I completely understand that it does create a lot of emotion. Obviously, I'm a clinical psychologist, so I'm very careful in how I discuss the two-tier system because obviously I attract a higher rebate. So I'm very careful about that. My personal opinion is that there should be a level playing field for qualified mental health professionals. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. Okay, so today is all about valuing your worth and valuing your time, and of course valuing yourself as a mental health professional. So you obviously, if you're watching, if you're a member of one of my groups, you're a qualified mental health professional, or you have an interest in, so you might be an allied professional who has an interest in mental health, and you have done whatever training you have done to get where you are now. And you know, we can look at you know, how much time you've invested into your career, how much it's cost you, but also what value we place on our time. Now, when we don't work in private practice, so if you're working in a government sector, you might be valuing your worth based on your salary, or you might be valuing your worth based on what band you are in within the government sector. If you're in private practice, of course, it's very hard to balance. A lot of people find it really hard to balance the time investment in running a private practice, in seeing clients, in doing all of the extra work that is required when you're seeing clients where there's not necessarily a fee attached to that. And then, of course, like I was alluding to before, we get to the topic of bulk billing, and is that a fair compensation for time spent? So I will talk about today what has happened to me this morning, which has actually given me, don't worry, it was nothing devastating, but it's given me a little timely reminder that it's okay to value our worth, and it's okay to value our time. So I was called on Wednesday morning, I think it was, and asked if I could appear in court on yesterday, on a child protection matter that I assessed and provided a report on 2 years ago. And have had nothing to do with since. I had people coming from elsewhere in Tasmania yesterday to meet with me, and so I said, no, I cannot. I'm sorry, but I can't. I'm not available on Thursday. What are the other options? So it was put to me, how about 10 o'clock on Friday, today? Thumbs up. I had some other meetings scheduled for this morning, but they were more easily rescheduled, which I did. I then spent quite a bit of time going over the file, so finding the file, going through the file, rereading the report, refamiliarising myself with the family. It was quite a complex case, as child protection matters often are, and reviewing the documentation that was in the file for this particular family. Now, the assessment took place 2 years ago, And to be quite frank, when the names were first mentioned, I couldn't recall the family. So there have been a number of assessments in the ensuing 2 years, a number of clients, a whole lot of stuff going on under the radar. So, you know, reading that report, rereading the report in preparation for court this morning was a little bit stressful because, of course, I had little time to review everything in preparation for court, and I had to really re-immerse myself in the issues around that family and the assessment that I undertook, and of course the recommendations I made. And when child protection matters go to court, often you're asked to comment on the recommendations you've made. And of course, if there's been water under the bridge since you've seen that family, of course I have no knowledge of what has gone on for that family in the ensuing 2 years, so my recommendations may well be, you know, completely null and void. So there's a lot riding on it, and especially, you know, when families are, you know, caught up in these processes for right or wrong, you know, I take it very seriously that my role is to educate the court and to be on the side of the children at all times, regardless of how positively or negatively I might have assessed the parents. My role is to, you know, basically be on the side of the children. So it was a very late night for me last night, going over the file, reviewing the documentation, getting my head back in that headspace from 2 years ago with this particular family, and reminding myself of you know, why I made the recommendations I made, what were the factors that I'd taken into consideration, what were the you know, the comments that were made in interview, all of that stuff. Plus, you know, reviewing all the backup documentation. So quite a late night. This morning, rushing off to court, only to find that it was adjourned yesterday, and nobody thought to ring me and tell me. Could have saved me a lot of effort last night and a bit of stress this morning. So I'm having my coffee and I'm clutching onto my little mate, this guy. If you've seen any of my videos in the past, you might have seen the video I did on depression where I talked about this guy. This is a little character from Japan. He's there's an artist in Japan that makes a character called Wamo, and this is Wamo's mate. Wamo's an alien, and this is his alien mate, and his name, believe it or not, is Bastard. And because you can see his anatomy, he's called, this particular version is called Anatomy Bastard. And I guess if you can see what's going on in his head, he's got some nasty thoughts going on in there, so that's why I love him. He just is a good representation of depression, anxiety, or anger, which I have been feeling a little of this morning, and clutching my mate Bastard going, yeah, you tell him. So how does that relate to valuing your worth? The reality is that, you know, child protection, they have very limited funds, and I will never get back, you know, compensation for the time I spent last night reviewing that document, all those documents. But by attending court today, I'm considering it a non-cancellation fee. So I will be billing the court attendance fee for the full hour of the court attendance fee, the APS rate. You know, I charge per hour or part thereof for court attendance. So today's attendance by me at court doing the right thing will be charged as a non-cancellation fee at that APS rate for court attendance. And I came away this morning feeling quite calm about that, apart from feeling cross about having, you know, wasted a lot of time last night, but feeling quite calm about the notion that, you know, I would be charging a cancellation fee, and from experience I know that they'll pay it, and that's not really the point. But the point is, you know, it's quite easy to get caught up as professionals. It's quite easy for us to get caught up in the sense of I wonder if they'll pay. I wonder if it's okay for me to bill this fee. I wonder if I'm allowed to do this. And I think it's really important for us to sit back sometimes and reflect on our worth and say, hang on a minute, I am a professional. Does a lawyer wonder if they're allowed to bill for certain things? Does a doctor wonder if they're allowed to bill, or a dentist for that matter? So it's really important to remind ourselves sometimes that we are this morning, you know, I'm presenting at court as an expert witness. And as an expert witness, my time is valuable. The court's time is valuable. We get in trouble if we're wasting the court's time. So it's important that we sit back and reflect on our value. Now, that might be not necessarily court related for you. You might be quite wisely avoiding court like the plague in your practice. I seem to set myself up for it quite regularly. But it might be doing things for clients and feeling that you can't bill for it. So a client might ask you for a letter of support for court, and I've talked about that before. I'm not going to go into whether you should or shouldn't prepare those documents, but what I want you to be thinking about is, am I billing appropriately for the time I'm spending? And when I say appropriately, I do mean be fair. If it takes you 10 hours to write a one-page letter, then obviously you're not going to charge for 10 hours of your time. You're going to charge for a one-page letter. But I think it's important that you do charge for those things. Now, for those of you who are working with low-income clients, I know this is a major issue. You're working with a population that is often unable to afford out-of-pocket costs. And so you might be inclined to bulk bill, and you might be inclined to bulk bill them all. So in that case, I would be saying to you, you know, thinking about how else can you value the time you spend on things? Can you put some boundaries in place to shield and quarantine your time? So when I was setting up our rural practice, before I had an ATAPS contract to support that, I used to bulk bill everybody in that rural practice. And what I did was I was very clear on what I could and couldn't provide, and letters of support and things like that that took me out of the time available to other clients. There would be quite clear boundaries around that, and if I felt it was something that the GP could provide, then I would direct them back to their GP for that, and I would talk to the GP because I was, you know, practicing out of GP's rooms at the time. So that was one strategy that I used. So it's really important. I wouldn't attend off-site meetings, for example, either, for similar reasons, that I couldn't take that time away from another potentially suicidal client. I don't know who's going to walk in the door next. My time was very limited, and so it was really important to make sure that I was clear on why I had my bottom on that seat in that country town, what service I was providing, and if I couldn't provide that service, then I would find somebody else that could. So be really clear on what your values are, because it's okay to have the value to provide a bulk bill service if that means something really, if that's really important to you. But also be really clear that you're running a business, and if you are running a business into the ground, how long can you sustain meeting the value that you have, which is to provide an affordable service to the community. So be really clear on what boundaries you can put around your time, what boundaries you can put around your own self-talk, around billing or not billing. You can think about my little friend Bastard if you want to. He's saying little things in your head. He's actually, I know you probably can't see, but he's actually got really sharp little teeth. Can you see his teeth? He's got sharp little teeth, and they represent his bitey words. So this character is all about, basically about negative self-talk. He follows Wamo around and says really mean things. And basically Wamo's quite a positive little character. He just tells him to shut up and go away, but still lets him hang around. So if you're doing that to yourself, if you're talking yourself down, if you're talking your value down, and you're saying, well, I can't bill for that, or I can't bill for that, but I'll do it anyway, you're the one not putting the boundaries in place. So for me this morning, I could easily say, oh, I won't bill for that. And then what happens? They still forget to let me know next time when there's an adjournment of a court matter, and my morning has been rescheduled. Now, they're not to know that I didn't have half a dozen suicidal clients booked in this morning that had to be rescheduled because of court. So it's really important that there are boundaries around your time, around your values, around your worth, and you protect all of those. So have a think today about, what are you telling yourself about your value? What are you telling yourself about your own worth? And how is that manifesting in the messages that you give to others and the boundaries you do or don't put in place around your time and around your worth? So, you know, it's easy for me to say what I bill, what I don't bill. I'm the director of a large group practice. if you're a solo practitioner, I know it can be really hard. You're really worried about having enough referrals. You're worried about keeping people happy so that you keep people coming through the door. And so what I'd say to you is just have a look at all of those boundary issues I've just talked about and protect your time. And that might be outsourcing some of the things that you're doing currently that are taking away from client hours. So have a look at it, see what you can do. There's lots of creative ways that you can do that. You can protect your time, you can protect your value, you can protect your worth. Challenge yourself. It might just be that you get rock solid on a cancellation policy, or it might be that you get rock solid on not doing extra written work that can't be billed for. Have a think. See what you come up with. Feel free to let me know what your ideas are. I'd love to hear them. If you're interested in my mentoring programs, they are still listed on my website, tesscrawley.com.au. Just click on the mentoring, the tab is called for mental health professionals, and in there you'll see my mentoring programs. They're not open for new members at the moment, but you can certainly lodge an expression of interest, I believe, or you can certainly send a message through the website or to me via Facebook if you're keen on being notified when they become available. I've got lots of exciting plans for the year ahead, so I'll keep you posted. In the meantime, I am doing a daily vlog, a little brief video each day on topics that come to mind that are of, I hope, of benefit to mental health professionals. So you can keep watching this page and seeing what topics I discuss each day. And I will talk to you again on that note tomorrow. Have a great Friday. Enjoy your Friday night, whatever you're doing. Stay safe and keep it classy, as they say. I'll talk to you all again tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye for now.